Hi, I'm Scott Lewis, the CEO and editor-in-chief of Voice of San Diego, and it is the Friday 5 at 5. Let's just talk about it. We'll get right into it. Ruth Bader Ginsburg has passed away, and it's going to be kind of weird to talk about anything else for a while. I'm going to get to the show later, but let's just handle this for a minute. So it was announced first broken by NPR, and then later was confirmed by the Supreme Court itself. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, whose career as a litigator and, of course, as Supreme Court was renowned and appreciated. I think if not, people didn't agree with them, they can't, or with her, they can't disregard just how big of an influence she was on our country, not just on the court. Um, if you are interested, I can recommend a really good piece of journalism about her you might consider, especially if you want to turn off the computer, maybe go for a walk. I highly recommend the Radio Lab podcast. It's called Sex Appeal. Um, it was about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and in particular, it was about her ability to think creatively about the law, to find ways to make sure that there was no more discrimination between genders, especially. In particular, it's about her ingenuity and innovation in jurisprudence to figure out how to get a hold, how to make the case more palatable. Um, it's just a great piece of journalism that gets a little bit farther into why she became the legal legend that she was. Um, far it's not just because of her placement on an appeals court later. That's what she earned after all this jurisprudence, all this legal work, and then, of course, her push for the Equal Rights Amendment. So I uh, I think there's a few things to think about. We're going to be watching really closely the country, and I know a lot of you are scared right now. I'm scared. I think we're all scared about a little bit of chaos, if not a lot of chaos that can come from this. I think there's two fears that are palpable out there. One is that the Republicans will try to, in a very contentious way, jam through a nomination right now before the election. And then, of course, there's the fear among progressives that she'll be replaced by Donald Trump. Now, that would have been the case in the next term, no matter what, if unless she was able to survive yet another 4 years. Um, but also, I think you should make sure to separate those two concerns. I think there's great chaos, obviously, potential in the former situation, and I think we should all brace for what might happen there. And I think we're all going to be very interested, of course, in the initial statements of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and the president, whether he will even try to nominate someone and whether Mitch McConnell will consider it. And then, of course, the initial statements of people like Lisa Murkowski. I think Lisa Murkowski, the senator from Alaska, already announced that it would be improper to provide a replacement right now or try to get one in. So that's interesting. Will there be three or four or three other senators, I think, who would also agree? That's very interesting to watch and important to watch. So that's that first bit on the chaos. On the second bit about the concern of people of the left about Trump replacing, well, that again is something you would have had to worry about in January had he been reelected, and shouldn't really change your approach to the crucial nature of this election if that's what you believe in. Um, so I think that the primary worry really is about the chaos that may ensue about the effort or non-effort to replace her immediately. I think then the second bit of chaos that we should probably keep in mind is that the Supreme Court will have 8 members. Even if that doesn't happen, they'll have 8 members, and it will be going into maybe the most contentious election season of our life. And so if there's a contested election, if, say, somebody doesn't agree with the outcome and carries lawsuits like what happened in 2000 up to the Supreme Court, then it could be another constitutional crisis, and one that the Supreme Court would be split in handling. So those are the two, I think, bits of immediate chaos to worry about. And then if your politics are at your principal worry right now, things like women's right to choose abortions, things like that, that should have already been part of your portfolio of concerns with this election. But that's enough on the politics and the chaos that might come. Again, it's a shame that this is happening now because she was such a brilliant legal mind, an innovator. She will go down as, and should go down as one of the most innovative legal thinkers on the Supreme Court in that entire trajectory. We hear about Oliver Wendell Holmes, the uh, Thurgood Marshall, people who came up with new ways to operate our legal system, who understood and understood the Constitution well enough to make change to society. Um, those She should go with them. She should be at the highest level of them. It's that impressive. And again, I really encourage. There's a lot of things about the Equal Rights Amendment and such, but if you really want to get in her head, that Radiolab episode, Sex Appeal, very good. I recommend that after the show, of course. Put on your headset, walk your dogs, take a moment to breathe. I am worried about the country too, and the chaos that could come. So let's all look at it clear-eyed and thoughtfully, and remember to think twice about the things that we say. And I think that we'll be able to manage our way through it. We're smart people. What other choice do we have? Let's see if there's any comments. Yeah. Great podcast. I know a lot of people are. She was just a. I think there's even some messages from Republicans right now that I think are capturing the respect that she should have on all fronts. A truly remarkable legal thinker and legal leader, and it's just too bad that this is happening in such a pitched political moment because she deserves a lot of reflection on her own about how special she was and what she meant to the Supreme Court and to the country. Um, so that's just something to keep in mind. I didn't want to start the show. Everybody's gonna be talking about it around the country, so um, I thought it was a little weird to jump into some funnier local politics stuff. But let's do that. Um, this is Voice of San Diego at Home, the Friday 5 at 5. Let's jump right into the main stories of the week that I wanted to follow, that I wanted to tell you about. Number one, I did some actual reporting this week about Zuri Williams. I talked to Zuri Williams. Zuri Williams has a daughter named Zora Williams. And Zora Williams was an AP Calculus student at Lincoln High School. I'm sorry, she was a student at Lincoln High School taking AP Calculus. One day she comes home and she tells her mom here, Zuri Williams. Zora tells her mom, Zuri, yeah, they canceled my AP Calculus class and they've put me in ceramics. Now, this is part of the bigger story I told in this project. You might remember a few weeks ago in in one of these shows, I talked about a comment that Richard Barrera made. He's a school board trustee for San Diego Unified School District, and he said, one thing that's great about this remote learning environment is that we can get people these kinds of opportunities. There were 7 students at Lincoln High School who couldn't take an AP class that they wanted to take. And now with this new remote learning environment we have, they could take it. Isn't that great? There are some silver linings here. Well, I wanted to learn a little bit more about those 7 kids, and I ended up finding this, Zora and Zuri Williams. Zuri Williams, who told me the story about her daughter's disruption of her academic career, how that AP Calculus just abruptly stopped, and how, it figured into all of these acceptances she was hoping to get from prestigious, universities across the country. A truly remarkable story of the school districts or schools failure of the child, the student, and just what might have happened had she continued to spiral because of that disruption. But she did not spiral. She recovered. She's at Cal Poly Pomona. She was able to get all that done. Now, AP classes, it was kind of extraordinary. Some of the stats I got out of this. Basically, at Lincoln High School, for example, students passed about 40, I think it was a little over 40 AP tests that were administered at Lincoln High School, about 40 in 2018, 2019. At Scripps Ranch High School, for comparison, there were more than 1,000. That's the number one story this week. Is obviously I'm selfish. I made it about me and my story, but it wasn't. It was about a family and about education, about inequity. Hope you check it out. And all right, our number 2 story of the week, Patrick Henry High School. Talk about another high school. Our Ashley McGlone did a story about Patrick Henry High School, and was basically like 2-part stories. One was this story about a specific uh, situation, series of events that occurred at Patrick Henry High School after the COVID pandemic started, and they sports stopped, cheerleading stopped, and they wanted those folks involved with those programs wanted to keep them going and started operating them as sort of independent clubs. But then when a couple of parents, and one parent in particular, started bringing up concerns about how they were interacting, whether they were respecting the guidance we'd been getting about COVID, they those parents and their kids appeared to have been the subject of retribution when their children, or when the cheerleaders, I keep calling them children, kids, these are high school kids, when they didn't make the cheerleading team. They were the 2 families who complained. Their 2 kids were the only 2 who didn't make the cheerleading team again. So that was an interesting story. It was clear enough to Patrick Henry High leaders that they ended up firing the cheerleading coaches. Extraordinary story in that one sense about this plot and this what happened and the fallout and the outcome of it. But the second part that's really interesting is how high school sports, what's going to happen. It's part of that same dissolution of public schools that we've been watching, and it being regrouped in private settings or semi-private or quasi-private settings. And I think it's a really fascinating another aspect of these communities of schools that are dissolving right now. And will they be put back together? Will online learning create its other community? Will they be able to stitch together these quasi, you know, parks and rec activities and athletic activities that are happening? There's a lot of youth sports out there happening in the private scene, but also, like my daughter, we can do softball, but they can't have games yet. So there's like a bunch of practice, which is frankly good. She needs to get out. But it's just a really odd world of this gray market of high school and youth sports. And will it, solidify, or will it be replaced soon with when everything goes back to normal, when that is? Crazy and interesting story. All right. I wanted to talk about a communications breakdown. Yeah, real smooth production over here. Uh, this is about the weird situation we find ourselves in with schools. Are they allowed to be open or not? So we all have been talking about how we as a county are headed to the purple tier. That's the purple tier of um, uh, uh, the purple tier of this virus danger that we face, which means that everything that's indoor has to close except salons. You can have salons. They made it. They survived. There's a very intense passion for salons that apparently has made its way to the governor's office. Um, so salons survive, but everything else that's indoor activity like gyms, indoor dining, which just opened, these things just opened 2 weeks ago, they have been shut down, and you can only have salons and then everything outdoors like we've been doing. So one of the weird parts about this that people have been wondering about is, can we have schools open? Can the schools that already open stay open? And can the schools that want to open open? For instance, Poway Unified School District announced this week that it would launch its sort of two cohorts of schools in October. One would go October 2nd, and the other would go mid October, I think. First 10 schools, and then 16 schools. And those would launch again October 2nd for in person elementary school learning. October. So, big question, if we go to the purple tier, are they allowed to open? And the County Office of Education had been insisting that, yes, they could open, that the purple tier would not bar them. Now, this confused me because when you looked at the state's guidance, the state said you can't have schools open. And so, what? What? What's going to happen? So, today or yesterday, the Union Tribune brought some clarity, and it is kind of shocking. It's going to have enormous ramifications. The Union Tribune reported that if a school, this is from the California Department of Public Health, a statement from the California Department of Public Health that says, quote, if a school did not open while the country was in red tier and the county subsequently moves to the purple tier, that school will not be allowed to open for in-person instruction until the county has returned to the red tier and been in the red tier for 2 weeks. So even if we went to purple next week and then we got right out of purple, we wouldn't be out of purple until, or we wouldn't be removed from purple until mid-October. So by definition, then, Poway Unified School District, unless the state somehow gives the county a break and says you're not in purple tier, Poway Unified and any other school that was planning on opening for in-person instruction is not going to. And the ones that were open, that did manage to get open before that, they can stay open. And it just so happens that so many of those are elite private schools, Catholic private schools, and a few smatterings of public school districts that managed to get open like this week or last week. So like Del Mar Union High School District has kids going back to elementary schools. And, so far, the county says there's been no outbreaks among those kids. So kind of weird that they get to stay open. Other groups can't even get open. They can apply for waivers, but a fascinating situation developing with that. And the county, I asked the county office or pinged them on Twitter about what was, where was the miscommunication? They said this: to be clear, the county has insisted schools could still reopen, and San Diego County Office of Education has conveyed that information to schools. So they blame the county. We don't know where the communication breakdown is, but it was a communication breakdown. Absolutely. What is going on? Do they have like telephones, like they could call and talk about it? And like it seems like a big deal. Like, can schools open? Doesn't seem like an arcane thing that they shouldn't, that there might be, somebody doesn't know the answer to, you got to look it up. Like, it should be kind of high on the level of principles of the thing you might want to answer questions about. And for 2 weeks, the county insisted that schools could open, and the state had on its own website that they can't open. For 2 weeks, that contradictory information smashed, and the county was insisting that they were right. And so we were like, well, I guess they're right. Because why would they not know? Why would they not talk to each other? It seems like something they should communicate with each other about what, is real about this life. So I think what we really have is a what is happening? Am I going crazy? I might be. Maybe all of this is normal and I'm just losing my mind. Or maybe this year is really weird and continues to get really weird. And I know now I'm brought back. We know what happened today, and I already talked about it for several minutes. If you're just joining, it's I am worried about the chaos too. All we can do is be clear-eyed and focused on what we do, what matters in our own lives, and our own value as as people who are able to put into perspective for others what is actually happening. So I consider, if you're watching the show with me, you probably care about public information. Uh, do your part to clarify to people what they should be worried about, what not, that sort of thing. That's our time. As we talked about, just quick review: chaos can come in two forms right now. One is if they do try to jam somebody through to nominate on the Supreme Court. I don't know whether they are going to try that. We're going to be paying attention to that. But yes, that's a source of chaos. Second source of chaos is if there's a contested election and an 8-person Supreme Court that can't have a majority unless it goes 6-2. So or no, I guess 5-3. Sorry, that's another way. But the point is, like, they're going to have a true mandate to handle a potentially contested election. So those are two sources of potential chaos right now. We got to worry about the next point, though, about the your concerns as a progressive. If you are a progressive, that's something you should have already been worried about with this election. And so if that's something you're worried about, you should stay worried about it. All right, let's get back. Number 4, our number 4 story of the week, locally, as we try to keep our heads straight and talk about things that we want to talk about. SB 145. This is a hot one. This came from State Senator Scott Wiener, who wanted to right an equity wrong. Basically, if somebody had sexual intercourse with somebody younger than them, and one was over 18, one was younger than 18, that's statutory rape. For heterosexual couples, specifically those who have vaginal intercourse or whatever power dynamic rape, or for that situation, that was not an automatic designation of a sexual offender. But if it was gay or the kinds of intercourse that are more prolific within that community, then it was automatically designated as a situation of predatory behavior, and that person was a sexual offender going forward. So this law sought to clarify that by giving the judge the same discretion for those more prominent sexual acts within the gay community and for heterosexual couples. This turned into a fiery issue, rather horribly portrayed in different ways. Some making the case that the law should have been made equal the other way, that it should have been equal application of the predatory sexual offender label to straight couples to make sure that they were being treated equally because they recognized the inequity there or the discrimination. But then there's obviously those who turned it into a really nightmarish issue. One of those who jumped on it was our own Mayor Kevin Faulconer, San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer, who said this on KUSI.
To say under any circumstances that you could have a 24-year-old adult with a 14-year-old and call that consensual, that's just crazy. That defies logic.
Okay, the thing there is the law, it's still illegal to have those sexual relations, period. It's not allowed. It's not being allowed with this. The question is whether in every instance it is automatically labeled a sexual offense where you get put on that registry forever, right? So that's whether it's automatic or whether it's up to the judge. Now, I think Reverend Shane Harris said something interesting the other day that, you know, that gives judges more discretion to perhaps, you know, apply the law unequally when it comes to people of different races or backgrounds. So there's a lot going on there, but just so you have the clear facts, it's still illegal. There was an inequity in how gay and straight couples were being treated. And this sought to rectify that. You could have maybe gone the other way. And that's, I think, the position of even Democrats like Lorena Gonzalez, Assemblywoman from San Diego. Just so you have all the facts, that was our number 4 story of the week. Boy, fraught day. All right, number 5. This should be a little easier. This is the story of Bruce the Pig. Writer Jackie Bryant had this wonderful, heartwarming story. Go to her, JACQBRYANT on Twitter. I just filed a sad story. She's a journalist. I don't know who she was submitting the story to. A farm burned in Hamul, but its owner sent me a picture of this pig, Bruce, who refused to evacuate and survived. If you go to her Twitter feed, she's got wonderful pictures of Bruce. There was a GoFundMe for Bruce. It did well. Who didn't need Bruce today? Look at that guy. Just sticking by his land. Just Bruce out there just like, I'm not going. Love that story. Jackie Bryant, thanks for booing us. I know it's a tough day for a lot of people. Take a walk. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. I'm going to stick around and answer any questions you have about any of these stories. But for now, I wanted to bring on Ashley Rodriguez. Ashley is our director of, what is your title again? Ashley Rodriguez. I just know you as a very important person.
Oh, thanks. Director of Development.
That's right. Director of Development. She handles our foundation work. She handles our corporate sponsorships. She handles a lot of events and partnerships. She's my go-to on a lot of projects that we're building together. I love working with Ashley. So let's talk. What do you got cooking? What did you want to make sure people knew about today?
Yeah, well, we recently launched the Local Boost program, which we partner with nonprofits and local small businesses to help them get a local boost in promoting their work on our platforms. We also are a nonprofit newsroom that values arts and culture in San Diego. So I'm especially proud to introduce one of our newest community partners who has a special sponsored message for us. It is the San Diego Chorus, and you can find out more about them on sdchorus.org.
Hi, Scott. This is a special greeting from the San Diego Chorus. We're a local, nonprofit, a cappella show chorus of women singing 4-part harmony. Under recent COVID restrictions, we have shifted to virtual rehearsals and performances, but we remain dedicated to bringing music to the San Diego area and to a cappella fans everywhere. We're big fans of San Diego, and we heard you have a birthday coming up. So we wanted to send you one of our special virtual birthday grams to help you celebrate. Enjoy.
Happy birthday, happy birthday. 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 Happy birthday, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
birthday.
There you go, Scott.
That's pretty good. I don't
It's
deserve
pretty
that at
good.
all. That was really cool. Thank you.
You're very welcome. And thanks to the San Diego Chorus for that.
Yes. So, look, I think first of all, thank you, San Diego Chorus. That I don't feel like I deserve that, and I don't. It was just it's nice to see special things. That was cool. People need to be surprised by cool stuff in this community a little bit more. Thank you for doing that. But look, folks, so what Ashley's helping us build is a true community around the work you might be doing, whether it's your company, small business trying to make it through, or whether it's, a religious place, a nonprofit doing some great work, or an art exhibit that you're trying to do in a special way. Ashley wants to help you get that out for an affordable price. And we've got some support to do that. And so Ashley's the one to help you get within our system and make sure that we can promote the great stuff you're doing or see what you're doing like that. So thank you so much, Ashley, for putting that together.
Happy birthday.
How can people get a hold of you, Ashley?
Yeah, I'll drop it in the comment line, but ashley.rodriguez@voiceofsandiego.org. You can also go to voiceofsandiego.org/localboost to learn more about that program.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's rad. All right, let's take a few minutes and just answer any questions you have. Is there anything about local government, national government that I can try to help you with, or state, or the politics, environment, anything like that? I'd be happy to do that. Let's look through some of your slander about Bruce. Bruce doesn't do drugs. What's wrong with you? Did you see Bruce? That guy is keeping it real. He's keeping a clear head. He's getting through things. He doesn't need your mind-altering drugs. He needs the high of his own life, of his own security. That's Bruce. He didn't have CBD. Oh, it was a hemp farm. Yeah, maybe that's what you meant. That's right. He probably did have a little CBD in his veins. All right, thank you for this. That pig is the best. Go, Bruce. Yes, Bruce was the best. So I appreciate everybody's support at Voice of San Diego. I know it's a weird time. If you have any suggestions on local things you want to learn more about, though, or anything else that's going on in your community that you want to just share, we find out a lot of things and we value it. Scott at Voice of San Diego. You can get a hold of me. Okay, it's hemp, no THC in hemp. I actually never knew you didn't have hemp and THC, or you didn't have THC in hemp. But I guess it makes sense because you just go chewing on ropes and stuff and get high. All right, got it. Question on the indoor restrictions that may impact the county if CV-19 cases rise. Well, so there's no higher tier right now than purple. So it sounds like we can continue operating outside, indefinitely. So if you have a gym you can have outside, the city's really relaxed its regulations about that. If you have a restaurant that you're operating outside, you can spread that information. You can do that fine, but you can't operate indoors, and that seems like it's going on indefinitely. It's basically the way it was 2 weeks ago. It's except for they can also have salons and hair places open. So the hair lobby won. I got a haircut the other day. I think the guy didn't want to put on a mask, but I had a mask on and I wasn't taking it off. I'm not, it's an easy thing to do. Why would I, if it even has a 1 in 100 chance of keeping me from getting it, I don't need it. I got like slight asthma. I'm a really athletic individual, but I don't need to be getting the COVID. Anyway, get your hair done. It can still happen. Will that impact in-person voting if cases rise? Okay, so just to be clear, let's review what's going to happen with voting. In about 2.5 weeks, you're all going to get ballots. If you are registered to vote, you will get a ballot in the mail. You can fill it out and send it right back in the mail. If you don't want to do that, the county will set up 235 places where you can go drop off the ballot safely. Those 235 places will be on sdvote.com. You can go and look at the location. Those places, though, will only be open 4 days in advance of the election and up until the election. 5 days. Michael Vu was on the show a few weeks ago. Point is, in the days before the election, you can go drop it off, but you can mail it in. And you can go to sdvote.com and go to the Track My Ballot app, and it'll text you when your ballot has been accepted at the county registrar of voters. It's cool. So that's how stuff's going to work. There's not going to be the 1,600 polling stations on election day that there normally is. There's going to be 235 that are open several days before the election up until the election. And you can drop your ballot off there. If you want to see it, go into a slot. If you just want to mail it in, you can still track it. And if you don't, if it doesn't register there, you can go get a new one, get the other one canceled, and fill that one out and send it in the same way. And they'll figure they're a very competent group of people. We have 76% of voters in San Diego already get mail-in ballots, already do it mail-in. It works fine for them. It's good for them. It's been working fine. Now the 24% of the rest of us have to do it. No big deal. Fill it out, send it in, or take it to one of the 235 places. It's going to be fine. I don't know if it's going to be fine in other states that don't have it as well down as this. All right, guys, stay safe, take care of yourself, be clear-eyed, help your community understand the real risks and the real chaos that they need to deal with. And we'll talk to you on Wednesday.